Welcome to Wisdom-Trek with Gramps. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, and we are on day 2857 of our trek. The purpose of Wisdom Trek is to create a legacy of wisdom, to seek out discernment and insights, and to boldly grow where few have chosen to grow before. The title for today's Wisdom Trek is The Song of Ascent, the upward gaze of the Exhausted Exile. In our previous episode on this grand expedition, we experienced the profound, overwhelming joy of arrival. We explored Psalm 122, the third Song of Ascent. We stepped off the dangerous, contested trails of the wilderness, and we finally passed through the massive, seamless gates of Jerusalem. We marveled at the unity of the tribes, the beauty of the walls, and the reassuring presence of the thrones of David, which represent the ultimate restorative justice of the Creator. We prayed fiercely for the shalom of the cosmic center, asking for peace within its walls and prosperity within its palaces, for the sake of our families and for the magnificent reputation of the house of our God. Today, as we settle into the holy city, the adrenaline of the journey begins to fade. The pilgrim is safe within the walls, but a deep, lingering exhaustion settles into his bones. We are exploring the fourth song in this pilgrim collection, Psalm 123, verses 1 through 4 in the New Living Translation. This is a short but intensely emotional psalm. It captures the reality that, even when we are safe in God's presence, the scars of the world's hostility still ache. It is a profound transition from the outward celebration of the city to the inward, desperate, upward gaze of the soul. Let us step onto this quiet, reflective section of the trail and learn where to look when we have had our fill of the world's mockery. The first segment is The Upward Gaze to the Cosmic Throne. Psalm 123, verse 1. I lift my eyes to you, O God, enthroned in heaven. The psalm opens with a singular, deliberate, physical, and spiritual motion. I lift my eyes to you, O God, enthroned in heaven. If you remember back to Psalm 121, the weary traveler looked up to the mountains, acknowledging the intimidating pagan high places, and immediately declared that his help came not from the hills, but from the maker of the hills. Now, in Psalm 123, the pilgrim is physically standing on the holy mountain of Zion. He is surrounded by the magnificent architecture of Jerusalem, and he is likely looking directly at the impressive structure of the temple itself. Yet, even with the earthly temple right in front of him, he lifts his eyes higher. He looks past the physical stones, past the earthly priesthood, and past the walls of the city. He directs his gaze straight into the unseen realm, to the ultimate, unshakable reality. O God, enthroned in heaven! This is a massive declaration of cosmic geography, deeply rooted in the ancient Israelite worldview. The surrounding pagan nations believed that their gods were localized, limited to specific geographic territories, or physically housed within their handmade wooden idols. But the psalmist knows that Yahweh cannot be contained by human architecture. Yahweh is the supreme commander of the divine council. He is enthroned above the heavens, ruling over the lesser spiritual beings, the rebel principalities, and the chaotic forces of the universe. When the psalmist lifts his eyes to the one enthroned in heaven, he is bypassing all the middle management of the world. He is not looking to earthly politicians, he is not looking to human armies, and he is not even relying on the physical safety of Jerusalem's walls. He is anchoring his soul directly to the highest authority in existence. When your earthly circumstances are exhausting, you must lift your eyes above the horizon of your pain and fix them upon the sovereign King who oversees it all. The second segment is the posture of the hypervigilant servant. Psalm 123, verse 2. We keep looking to the Lord our God for his mercy, just as servants keep their eyes on their master, as a slave girl watches her mistress for the slightest signal. Having directed his gaze to the heavens, the psalmist explains the exact nature of this upward look. It is not a casual, passing glance. It is a posture of intense, sustained, and hyper-vigilant dependence. He compares our relationship with God to the dynamic of a household servant in the ancient Near East. We keep looking to the Lord our God for his mercy, just as servants keep their eyes on their master, as a slave girl watches her mistress for the slightest signal. To fully understand the weight of this metaphor, We must step into the culture of the ancient world. In a wealthy or royal household, the master and mistress did not typically shout orders across a crowded banquet hall. They communicated with subtle, almost imperceptible physical cues. A slight nod of the head, a subtle wave of the hand, or a quick glance of the eye would instantly command a servant to pour more wine, remove a plate, or defend the door. Therefore, a good servant could never afford to be distracted. They could not look down at their feet or stare out the window. They had to keep their eyes absolutely locked onto the hands and the face of their master, waiting for the slightest signal. Furthermore, in the ancient world, a servant was entirely dependent upon the master for their very survival. The master provided their food, their shelter, their clothing, and their legal protection against the outside world. To look to the master's hand was to look to the source of your life. The psalmist is saying, this is exactly how we must look at Yahweh. In a world ruled by the chaotic, rebellious forces of darkness, we have absolutely no independent capacity to survive. We are completely dependent upon the hand of the Creator. We must watch His hand for provision when we are starving in the wilderness. We must watch His hand for protection when the enemies are closing in. And we must watch His hand for guidance, ensuring that we are stepping exactly where the cosmic blueprint dictates. Notice what specific thing the servant is looking for. We keep looking to the Lord our God for His mercy. He is not demanding a paycheck. He is not claiming that he deserves a reward based on his own flawless performance. He is looking for grace. The Hebrew concept here is tied to favor and deep, unmerited compassion. We stare at the throne of the universe, knowing that our only hope for survival in this hostile exile is the compassionate, merciful movement of the Master's hand. The third segment is the suffocating weight of cultural contempt. Psalm 123, verses 3 and 4. Have mercy on us, Lord, have mercy, for we have had our fill of contempt. We have had more than our fill of the scoffing of the proud and the contempt of the arrogant. The quiet, disciplined vigilance of the servant suddenly breaks into a raw, desperate, and exhausted plea. Have mercy on us, Lord, have mercy, for we have had our fill of contempt. The repetition of the phrase, have mercy, reveals the intensity of the pain. The psalmist is spiritually, emotionally, and psychologically worn out. Why? Because he and the covenant community of Israel have had our fill of contempt. The Hebrew idiom for had our fill literally means to be absolutely glutted, saturated, or stuffed to the point of nausea. Imagine eating until you are physically sick and then being forced to consume even more. That is how the psalmist feels about the mockery of the world. He is up to his neck in it. He cannot swallow another drop of their hostility. He clarifies the exact source of this nausea in verse 4. We have had more than our fill of the scoffing of the proud and the contempt of the arrogant. We must view the proud and the arrogant through the lens of the divine council worldview. These are not just people who are a little bit conceited. These are the human proxies, the avatars of the rebel spiritual principalities. The fallen Elohim rebelled against God out of sheer pride, demanding worship for themselves. Therefore, the human cultures that worship these false gods are characterized by a profound, aggressive arrogance. These pagan nations looked at Israel, and they scoffed. They mocked the Israelites for worshiping an invisible God. They held the Israelites in contempt, treating them as backwards, foolish, and culturally inferior, because Israel refused to participate in the corrupt, exploitative, and immoral practices of the surrounding empires. Contempt is a uniquely destructive weapon. It is not just physical violence. It is an assault on your dignity. It is being looked down upon, dismissed, and treated as if you have no value. When the culture constantly mocks your faith, ridicules your values, and treats your allegiance to the Creator as a joke, it slowly grinds away at your resolve. It is a suffocating, deeply painful burden to carry. The psalmist is essentially crying out, Lord, we are full. We cannot take another insult. We cannot endure another sneer from the arrogant forces of this world. Please, Move your hand. Step in. Assert your cosmic authority. Silence the mockers, and shower your exhausted servants with your protective, vindicating mercy. The fourth segment is Finding Our Focus in a Hostile World. Psalm 123, verses 1 through 4, provides us with a profound, highly realistic survival strategy for navigating a culture that despises our faith. It validates the very real, crushing exhaustion of the believer. The Bible does not ask us to pretend that the mockery of the world does not hurt. It is perfectly acceptable and entirely biblical to approach the throne of the universe and admit, Lord, I am saturated. I have had my absolute fill of the arrogance, the scoffing, and the contempt of this culture. I cannot carry this weight anymore. But this psalm also teaches us exactly what to do with that exhaustion. It teaches us where to aim our eyes. When the world around you treats you with contempt, do not look down in shame, and do not look horizontally to pick a fight with the arrogant. You cannot outscoff the scoffers. Instead, you must lift your eyes. You must look past the immediate painful circumstances and fix your gaze squarely upon the God who is enthroned in heaven. As you walk your trek today, adopt the posture of the hyper-vigilant servant. Remember that you do not belong to the arrogant empires of this world. You belong to the royal household of the Most High God. The world may hold you in contempt, but the Master holds you in his hand. Ignore the noise of the culture and keep your eyes locked on the King. Watch for his slightest signal. Wait patiently and expectantly for his movement. Trust that the sovereign Lord who rules from the cosmic throne will eventually silence the proud, and that he will lavish his abundant, unmerited mercy upon the servants who faithfully watch for his hand. If you found this podcast insightful, please subscribe and leave us a review. Then encourage your friends and family to join us, and come along tomorrow for another day of Wisdom Trek, Creating a Legacy. Thank you so much for allowing me to be your guide, mentor, and most importantly, I am your friend as I serve you through this Wisdom Trek podcast and journal. As we take this trek of life together, let us always live abundantly, love unconditionally, listen intentionally, learn continuously, lend to others generously, lead with integrity, leave a living legacy each day. I am Guthrie Chamberlain, reminding you to keep moving forward, enjoy your journey, and create a great day every day. See you next time for more daily wisdom.